Right, we're joined with Dave Hale. Quite strange actually, because it's role reversal. I've come down to you.
Yes,
and,
you're on my patch now, aren't you? Just
yep.
sort of coin a phrase, Daniel. Yeah.
Down at Richmond Street. Firstly, welcome along to the show.
Thank you very much, and welcome along to Richmond Street allotments, or to the Sheppey Horticultural Society. It's lovely to have you here. Is it really a year since you were here before? It's quite remarkable.
No, I can't believe it.
How quickly the time actually goes.
I'm just glad it's nice and dry. Hopefully it stays that way.
I've been crossing my fingers all week because, as you know, the island has been pretty dry this year. And as you can see, the ground is pretty dry here. Although, funnily enough, if you dig about a spit below the ground, it is still slightly damp. So
I was going to ask you how you were getting on with the dry weather we've been having.
it's been remarkable actually. There've been lots of varied stories. There've been people who've got superb potatoes, other people who've got very small potatoes where the potato perhaps hasn't taken up enough water. It's very curious that this should happen from one plot to the next, but then that's the diversity of plots anyway. Somebody will say, I've got brilliant tomatoes this year, and somebody else will say, mine aren't quite so good, whereas their beans are very good, and then the first person, their beans aren't that much cop, if you know what I mean. Things have been very late this year. It's been a weird sort of year for growing vegetables. As you can see in front of you here, most of my tomatoes are still quite green. I'm desperate for them to go red, not least because my wife can make passata and we can actually use them and eat them. So we're waiting for them to actually go red. They would normally have gone red by this time. Although, strangely enough, the dryness has meant that, as you can see on the tomatoes, there's no apparent blight or anything like that, which is something that we were blighted with last year. Likewise, the same thing with the potatoes at the top of the plot up there.
Actually, I thought that's what we could do while we're at your plot. If we could sort of go through your plot, what you've got growing, and how things are going with those vegetables.
To try to describe this is a full 10-rod plot, which is about, as you can see, about 75, 80 feet long by about 30 feet wide. At one end, I have soft fruit, raspberries, loganberries. They grow naturally. I don't do very much with them.
Right.
I've had a particular feast this year with them, but it's a competition between me and the birds. This year I won. Just in front of those will be my plot of potatoes. So there's 2 or 3 varieties of potato in there, late potato, and this year I'm growing Desiree because it's a good doer of a potato.
Right.
I've grown them regularly on this particular plot, and they come up trumps virtually every year for us. In front of those there will be a second early potato, which this year I'm growing Isle of Jura, which I'm just trying out for the first year. So we've yet to see what they actually look like, although it's a bit late for digging them up. As you can see, the tall vegetable in front of you is corn.
I was going to say it looks very tall.
It's quite a corn one. Corn one. Hark at me. It's actually quite a tall one. So that is a little late this year as well. Normally I would be picking the actual corns, the cobs themselves, but they've got about a week or so to go. And this monster that is threatening to sort of wrap itself around your legs is in fact 9 plants of squash.
Right.
There are winter squashes in there, which we are already eating. Now that shows you what kind of a year it actually is. Normally I wouldn't be picking those until October, sometimes November, because they are a winter squash, and delicious they are to eat as well, filled up. But in front of those there will be butternut squashes as well. And as you can see, it literally stretches all the way across the plot itself. And we're very pleased with the outcome of that. Having said that, these particular squashes need a lot of water.
Right.
We have been judicious in actually watering them by actually watering the root of the plant, getting to it. As you can see, we have sticks in front of where the actual root goes into the ground. It's a good idea because otherwise we'd be watering willy-nilly. And what we look for is responsible watering. There is really no point in just spraying water over the top of a plant because it really isn't doing it much cop or much good. You've got to get it down to the root very quickly. One of the tricks that a lot of us employ where tomatoes are concerned is to actually put the pot that the seedling tomato came out of, put it into the ground next door to the tomato. Just dig it in slightly and water through that, because then the water gets straight to the root, which is where the plant actually wants it. I think I've said this before on your show on Monday evening. So it's responsible watering. Because we grow for food, we can still use hoses. Where the society is concerned, we actually ask people to hand hold the hose. We don't like sprinklers or just watering willy-nilly, simply because we're trying to be responsible citizens, and we are aware that on the island this year it's been pretty dry. Coming further down, there's a bare patch right in front of you, but that's where I've actually dug my onions up.
Right.
So, again, not too bad this year, although there are, as you probably will see as we walk around this particular site, there have been some superb onions. We are talking heavyweight onions here.
So the weather's been right for those?
It's been strange. It's been a very strange sort of year for different vegetables. Some have thrived, and others, they're late. And it's not through want of water, because, as I say, we do water, as allotmenteers, we do water regularly anyway. But it's generally been that dry year. In front of you, my tomatoes. There are 3 varieties there: Marmand, a new one I'm actually growing this year, which was called Mortgage Lifter, which we're not too disappointed with. There is a story attached to it. The farmer grew them one year, actually, and it saved his farm from the speculators, apparently, somewhere in America, I believe it was. But it's actually called Mortgage Lifter. And there's another one there called Subarctic Plenty, which is a variety that doesn't need too much heat, and is quite prepared to sort of to actually ripen where lower temperature is concerned. And behind that there will be leeks, and behind that there will be parsnips, and the tree in the corner is actually a cobnut tree, which I inherited when I took the plant over, or when I took the plot over. Yes, it does provide me with Christmas nuts, although they're best eaten now, funnily enough, while they're still quite soft, and you can actually get your teeth into them. You don't need nutcrackers. The nuts you actually buy for Christmas have been stored for a few months, so they're ready to eat now. The actual nut is quite green and delicious. Soft fruit, as you will see, carrots in raised beds, and round the corner more leeks. So the ground here is pretty good. You can actually plant a wide variety of vegetable flowers if you wanted to, because there's nothing like attracting bees onto a plot as well. So yeah, it's a weird year. Watering is, we try to be responsible about it. Inevitably, watering is needed, but we can grow a wide variety of produce, and that's good. The ground is pretty good here.
We're out and about, and we're talking to Dave Hale from the Sheppey Horticultural Society down at the Richmond Street allotment plots at the moment.